Part of our continuation of our departing members ceremony, we will now recognize Assemblymember Ting. Assemblymember McCarty, you are recognized for delivering remarks in tribute to Assemblymember Ting.
Well, Mr. Ting, this is our opportunity to say goodbye to your service here at the state capitol, not say goodbye to you, hopefully. And thank you for your service. I heard a lot of ahs. I think that's for all the reflections of all the good work you did helping improve our districts throughout California. And, you're leaving a tremendous mark on your city of San Francisco and the state of California as a very distinguished assembly member. You've served 12 years, and you're a part of the new era that came in with the class of our Speaker Emeritus, Anthony Rendon, and so others that wanted to do things differently. And I saw this firsthand because, as we know the other day, I used to be a staff member to the Budget Committee, which you chaired for 8 years. And budget chairs, they circulate every couple years. And as soon as they knew what was going on, they were gone. And that left a big power vacuum to the administration, to the Governor, Department of Finance, and to people, in the lobbying corps many times. And so you stepped up and you wanted to serve in this new era and made sure that you dug in, knew the content, knew the budget left and right, and had the opportunity to exert our power as a co-equal branch of government. And you made that very, very clear to our prior governor and our current governor and the Department of Finance that no, we are a co-equal branch of government, want to be treated equally. And also partnering with the Senate to making sure that we speak as one voice and work as a legislature to try to get our priorities focused on with the governor as well. So you were really able to dig in and lead this new era of the legislature. We think back, way back, we had, before term limits, people could serve a while. You had Senator Vasconcellos that probably was the longest serving budget chair. I think you're the second longest. Then we had the members who served for the, maybe 15 or so years in their term limits. And you're part of this new era, and you will go down as part of this budget chair, hopefully with our new budget chair from Los Angeles, who will be able to really dig into these issues. And certainly your fingerprints have been all over the state budget, helping change lives in healthcare, environmental policy, education, and certainly issues that we worked on. You've certainly authored well over 100 bills in all kinds of policy areas. You were certainly well respected among all of your colleagues, and you made sure that you focus on all of our priorities. One thing I'll remember is that you made sure you listened to Republicans and Democrats, or even in the Speaker's doghouse. You made sure you respected everybody and made sure their voices were heard in the budget process. You went to our districts and, to the best of your ability, brought back the Members' Request Project and funded priorities in our district. Made sure that we all had an opportunity to focus on what was important to us. Every year we had this budget blueprint. We used to always follow the governor. Governor introduces his budget on January 10th. We know that it's in the Constitution. Thank you for reminding me, Majority Leader Emeritus. It's in the Constitution. We came up with this process, when you started, we're going to have the Assembly Budget Blueprint. We're not going to wait for the governor. We're a co-equal branch of government. He's not always our daddy. We need to focus on what's important to us. So in December, we laid out our priorities, and governors from the prior governor and the current governor took notice of what we wanted to focus on. And it's been very, very helpful to get our priorities across the finish line. So and when we started, you were on my subcommittee, and we did important work on higher ed and UC policy. And I remember, members, if you go home to your district and talk about one thing that you do in the Capitol, I guarantee you'll get a standing ovation for one thing. You expanded access to the University of California for kids to go to college. And for several years, we were decreasing California access and increasing access for out-of-state students, wealthy students from New York, international students. And Mr. Ting and I said, no more. We took it to the UC, and we got, pushback for several years. But when you go home, members, and you say that we are, for the first time now, expanding California access and decreasing non-resident access at your town halls, you will get a standing ovation. And that wasn't easy, but that was because of our work. And we make sure that we want to focus on the next generation. So I always appreciated that you always had my back on these issues. Many times I'd stand up in our committee and I'd say, the budget chair and I think X, Y, and Z. And sometimes our staff, Christian or Mark or Katie or Aaron would say, did Phil really say that? I'm like, no, we're good though. We're good. He's got my back, I have his. And I never had a doubt because we were always making sure we were focusing in the right direction. So all of the things we've done in these transformational budgets with universal pre-K, universal after-school programs, community schools, universal free lunch, more than doubling per pupil funding in K-12 schools. That's just the stuff we did in our area, the stuff you did in public safety, healthcare, the environment, the list goes on and on. And you were always willing to take on the tough issues too. I know this past year, you were really upset with me because I asked you to serve on the Public Safety Committee with me. But you worked with both sides, and you realized that we needed to bring a little bit more balance to these issues. And you dug into those issues, and we were extremely helpful for that 1 year that I was also in another important assignment chairing the Public Safety Committee. I'll appreciate our friendship. I briefly knew you when you were assessor and running for mayor way back in the day. You didn't succeed, but you dusted yourself off and have another opportunity to serve in public service and served our state well for 12 years. I know that you're a girl dad just like me, and I know we became Swifties 5 or 6 years ago, going to a Taylor Swift concert with our young daughters, and I'll never forget those memories and going to the baseball games and basketball games and just being a good colleague and an ally to so many of us. And lastly, I want to say that any of you ever heard about the story about Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre? They're football players, and Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback for the Packers, and Brett Favre was for the Packers. And Aaron Rodgers wanted to be the starting quarterback, but Brett Favre wouldn't retire. And so I always wanted to be the budget committee chair. And Mr. Herendon became the speaker, appointed Phil chair of the budget committee, and then Mr. Speaker and our former appropriations chair, Lorena Gonzalez, says, don't worry, he's going to run for mayor in a couple years. He's going to run for statewide office, just around the corner. You'll get it. I kept saying, you're Brett Favre, I'm Aaron Rodgers, just move on so I can get this position. But that never quite materialized. But we did just fine. And I was able to leave my mark just as much as without that title. And I'm glad that you were able to serve this position for 8 years and made a huge difference for the people of California. You look at the list of stuff that we accomplished during this era, and you led that. And you brought back, again, the power of the legislature to go toe-to-toe with the administration. And that's something that you drove, and you had all of our backs and listened to your colleagues. And so you served with distinction, and congratulations on your service to your district and the state of California. Assemblymember Ting.
Thank you, Mr. McCarty. I guess I would note at least you weren't sent to New York. Assemblymember Lowe, you are recognized for your delivering your remarks in tribute to Assemblymember Ting.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I've known Assemblymember Ting for close to over 2 decades. 2 decades when we were both candidates in a training program, and he was then an executive director of a social service advocacy organization by the name of Asian Law Alliance. He was a head of a nonprofit advocacy organization. I was a student in taking classes at Asian American Studies. There was a gentle lady by the name of Betty Yee, who was a staff member for the Board of Equalization in that period of time, and we're all thinking about running for office. And of course, Mr. Ting put his skill sets to use as very good at math, becoming the assessor for the city and county of San Francisco. Of course, fitting that stereotype that Asians are good at math. But he did so, of course, then as the chair of the Rev and Tax Committee for the California State Legislature. Many may not also remember that he was the Democratic Caucus chair, and of course, serving as a longtime active member of the California Asian Pacific Islander Legislative Caucus, and of course, the longest serving chair of the Budget Committee. The longest serving chair of the Budget Committee. And of course, the Budget Committee has not been around that long because previously it was the Ways and Means and combination of appropriations as well. So we are very honored to be serving with a colleague who has served in this capacity for this long period of time. For those of you who may also not remember, he was serving in his 12 years in his tenure and focused on issues like the electrical grid, the environment, public education, gun violence prevention, and also a champion of social justice and allyship of championing bills like gender-neutral restrooms for our LGBT community and showing solidarity, Lunar New Year as an official holiday in our community colleges. He helped create the first statewide home drug and medical needles take-back program, which is funded by the pharmaceutical industry. Great successes. But of course, colleagues, as you know, not all of our bills become successful in the definition that it makes its way to the governor's desk and gets signed. Not every single one. But permission to use a prop, Mr. Speaker.
Without objection.
And a prop? Of course, legislative proposals, ideas may not shepherd its way all the way to the governor's desk. And yet, though, the legislative intent is realized. Let me say that again. The legislative intent is realized. Things like skipping the slip. And as you know, addressing the issues of the environment, many private corporations now, because of the intent, understanding the importance of making sure that we responsibly address the issues of our environment with the unnecessary and antiquated, and yet many businesses are providing paper receipts, while in practice now, there is that option. That option, when you go out to many retail stores, you have that option. And so again, we recognize the importance of the legislative intent in the state of California, helping to ensure that we're addressing these issues in real time. And so kudos goes to Assemblymember Ting and his incredible, capable staff of helping to ensure that we are driving the areas. And that should be a reminder to all of us that so much of our legislative intent can be realized if we continue to move the marker all the way through. But of course, most importantly, you know him as our budget chair. And if, I just wanted to say too, in his capacity as budget chair, I know that you all probably reflect this type of experience. So many of our cities provided opportunities of these requests and asking for resources. And sometimes it may not fit within that necessary box. And I recall that when I asked Mr. Ting to avail that of the budget staff and Christian Griffith himself to meet with our mayors, the mayors were all impressed. Say, wow, the budget chair staff would make themselves available to talk to us about the nuance of whether or not this is a realistic request or not. And that was very meaningful in that experience, given that there are so many other members of the legislature. I know you all feel the same, and you've had similar experiences, understanding that Mr. Ting was a member's member in that capacity as budget chair. And so, very specifically, I know all of you have been impacted in this way. And so, if you, colleagues, have been a beneficiary of state funding in your districts with respect to funding for bridges, schools, parks, libraries, roads, and everything in between, would you please stand? If you have been a recipient of the positive impact of Assemblymember Phil Ting in the budget process in this period of time. Would you please stand? Phil, after 12 years, Mr. Ting, just for 5 seconds, just observe and remember this moment. Remember this image of all of the colleagues, bipartisan, past, current, future, and present, who have been positively impacted by your work, by your very capable staff work, in making sure that all Californians' visions are realized. We are deeply grateful to you as a colleague. Congratulations on your success.
And now, Mr. Ting,
Thank you, Mr.
you are
Speaker.
recognized.
Let me thank my amazing colleagues from Sacramento and Campbell. It's kind of hard to top those two. I'm gonna have to borrow my tie back. Like so many of us, I didn't expect to ever be here. This was never something I aspired to or even heard about growing up in California. My parents are immigrants, like so many people in this room. I remember my dad telling me when he got off the boat coming from Taiwan, one of his first jobs was doing lighting at CBS Studios, and he thought he had just landed on heaven on earth, and it was just the most amazing place. Like California was the most amazing place, and that's where they chose to raise their kids. My parents met when they were in grad school, of all places, at the University of Oklahoma. But the second that they graduated, they got back in their car and got back to California as soon as possible to make their way and to raise their family here. Because this is the state that people come to. And I've talked about that when we talk about the budget or all the issues. We have a lot of problems. That's what our job is here, to deal with all those problems. But we are the most amazing state and the most amazing country. And this is where people come to. And I remember when our class of 2012, there aren't that many of us left now, but when we came here, and we came up here, California was going through the Great Recession like so many other places. We had gone all the way down to the 8th largest economy in the world. The Economist had on its cover, "Is California over?" They were questioning, we couldn't pay our bills, we couldn't function as a state, and they were asking us as a state if we were done. And that was how our class came in. And 12 years later, it's unequivocal that this state is not done. Because of all the work that this body has done, as my colleague talked about, more kids in California have access to higher education than ever before. Our K through 12 funding is at the highest level in our state's history. We have universal transitional kindergarten. We have more child care slots. We are closer and closer to getting to universal health care. All because of us, our body. And we come here, all of us, we represent about 500,000 people every day, and we come here trying to make the lives of 40 million people better. That is literally the only barometer for each and every single one of us. And when I think back about the work that each and every single one of us do, not as individuals, but as a legislature, as a body, I am so humbled to have had the opportunity to work with all of you. My colleague from Sacramento talked about, what we all miss, right? I will miss all of you, the building, the staff, the collegiality, the environment, the fact that we are a team, and that as a legislature, we are as a team trying to make our state better. And it's been this incredible opportunity, whether it is to reassert our legislative authority, whether it's to make sure that we are demonstrating, we are the people's house, and demonstrating that the people have a voice in our state's political process. It's not This is not a one-person show in state government. There's a legislative body, we're the people's house, and we are the ones that the people come to for their problems and for us to solve their problems. And for this entire time, if I think about all the work that we have done as a body, I'm so incredibly proud of what we've been able to achieve, bringing California back, putting us on stable footing, really being able to deliver so many more services, thinking about our expansion of our earned income tax credit, really trying to do everything possible to really lower income inequality and really have opportunities for everybody. But that could not be done without each and every single one of you, each and every single one of us, together as a legislative body focused on one thing to make our people's lives better. That is what I'm going to miss every single day. Someone asked me, why do I love this job? It's because every time we hear about something that's a problem, whether it's at home or in our state, whether it's trying to figure out how to feed hungry kids, whether it's about how to move people more smoothly transportation-wise, whether it is about solving or trying to figure out the latest technology, whether it comes to AI or autonomous vehicles or anything, we hear about it, we can come up here and try to figure out how to solve that problem, how to make people's lives better, and how to really make California continue to grow. And that is such an honor for each and every single one of us. I know some of us are at the tail end of our career, some of you are at the very beginning. It is just absolutely incredible the opportunities we have each and every single day change people's lives. Let me just start off by thanking my staff. A lot of them are back there, whether it's my personal staff, committee staff. None of this would be possible without all of you. To each and every day, I think my colleague from Campbell talked about the incredible work of the budget staff. My personal staff oftentimes had to accept my negligence till the budget was done. And then really, my district staff got me when I was back in the fall. But just all of the incredible work each and every single one of you had to do all the things that we just took credit for. I think the great thing is, as elected officials, we know how to take credit for everybody's work. Well, it's the staff and all of you in the back that do that work each and every single day. The one thing I sort of forgot to mention, I think about, when I started here and I came here, higher education funding was at the same level as the corrections funding. And really, only through our hard work, we actually saw opportunities for higher education go up, and we saw the number of prisons go down. And it's only because of all the hard work of all the staff, of the people in the back. It's absolutely been incredible. I want to thank Speaker Emeritus Rendon for the opportunity. None of this would happen without his appointment for me as budget chair. I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to have that time to be able to serve as budget chair. I want to thank Speaker Rivas for his friendship during this last year and a half, and really appreciate the way that he's treated me as well. Let me just thank also my kids, my family. They couldn't be here. My kids started school last week. They've made the biggest sacrifice. In all our lives, we know this is a very tough job on our families. Our kids absolutely make the biggest sacrifice, and I thank them for all their patience, their tolerance, their love, and absolutely their guiding light that this is why we do everything up here, is try to figure out how we can give our kids the same kind of opportunity that was given to each and every one of us. I stand here again as the product of California, was born and raised here, went through public schools here, and everything that I have in my life I owe to this state. So it was an honor and an amazing pleasure to be able to give back over these last 12 years. Thank you.